I wanted to talk a little bit about van life and what it is and how people see it. Van life is generally sold as this like end destination. You know, I'll be happy when I'm living van life. I'm dreaming of van life. And something about that doesn't really sit too well with me. So I've been living van life now for 3 years. Hashtag van life. And basically, it's great. I love it. I genuinely find it's really useful and it's a great way to do the things I want to do. But there's a lot of things about how van life is projected, especially within social media, which feels weird. If your aim is to just travel around, van life is great. If you're doing like a 2-week holiday or weekend trips or 6 months break and just getting away from the city life or your work and you're just going to have a travel time and basically not spend too much money, and van life is great for that. But I wouldn't really say that is fully van life. Van life is full-time. There's a lot of pros and cons to that, but the pros are actually pretty damn good. I guess the selling of van life as the end destination, or like the thing you want to be having, or like, you know, dreaming of van life, is just a big perfect intersection into consumer culture. It's like, once I have this, I'll be happy, or once I have a house or a car or a family or whatever, I'll be happy. And that's, you know, it's weird because van life is generally a little bit counterculture. It's a little bit anti-consumerism. But when it's sold in this way, it just neatly slots in as another piece of consumer culture. And I'm obviously, largely I'm against that because it missells what people could use the van for, or missells what van life can give you. So for me, the goal is not van life, in the same way that the goal isn't house life. If your dream is to live in a house, you're probably fairly destitute and homeless. If your dream is just to live in a van, perhaps you're just a little bit goalless, or you don't have something to focus your time on. The big draw of van life is it's a tool to do the things that you want to do in a more effective way. And essentially the reason why is the kind of global but highly westernized housing crisis. And in short, the word is rent. The housing crisis is absurd. It is not something that is inevitable. It is created by government, policy, and their ideology. And the problem with it is it stifles a generation of people in their creativity and the things that they really want to do, because they're continuously being sucked for their rent money, which is often a vast amount or a vast percentage of the money they can earn, especially when they're young. If you're a young creative or an athlete or anything like this, where you're not necessarily focused on making money as your key vocation, you end up spending a lot of your time, or most of your time, working in jobs to pay your rent, which means you're much less effective at doing the thing that you really want to do. And that means like society overall loses out on your creations in the long term, because maybe you'll never make it because you spend so much time working to pay your rent. 30 or 40 years ago, there was many places that artists or climbers or outdoor sports people or whatever, there are many places that they could live and focused on their goals, which weren't necessarily instantly monetary valuable. And they could do these goals because they could live cheap. You know, if you only have to pay for your food or a little bit of rent, then you can do that in like 5 or 6 days of work, not 20 days of work, to make sure you're making that money. So people could focus on these other things which weren't exactly orientated about making money. And for those now who want to travel outside of the cities to natural environments, the overall cost of housing and rent has pushed up rent everywhere. So even if you want to live on some secluded beach doing whatever, doing some surfing or practicing climbing in the mountains, the cost of renting an apartment there or holiday lets or hostels or whatever, they've all gone up too. And the end result is it just makes it harder to live a dedicated life to something which doesn't exactly make money over time. And that is where van life is incredible. You can live in your van, you pay no rent, you could sell your van at the end, and often if you did a little bit of work to it, you can sell it for the same you bought it for. So you can live in a van and pay no rent in an asset which doesn't necessarily have to depreciate very much, and basically focus on the things you want to do. You only have to pay for food then. That is the power of van life. that you can focus on the things that are important to you, not basically lose your life, sucks all the energy out of you to work hard to pay rent for people who have owned property for the last 30 years and got in before the housing crisis really kicked in. I know many musicians, athletes, artists who are living in vans, sometimes in cities, sometimes in nature, so they can focus on their goals because it enables them. Van life is an enabler to reach your dreams, to reach your potential without your life being sucked out of you by the necessity to pay really high rents. So when we look at what people had 30 or 40 years ago and able to live cheap to focus on the things, what van life does, van life brings that back. Van life is booming because of high rent is stifling the young, and they can see this as a way to escape the tyranny of the housing market. And I applaud people who take that step because it's terrible value for money. Housing is terrible value for money, and I don't want to pay for it. I've escaped. I'm not paying for rent in a outrageously priced destination ever again. I don't want to, because if I can make my money, and I don't have to make as much money when I live in a van and travel the world. You know, I don't. I can live cheap, have a better life because of van. So to sum up, I encourage you to think about van life as an enabler. I mean, if you're going on holiday for a month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever, fantastic. Enjoy it. It's an incredible experience. But if you're thinking about van life as a way to live your life in the long term, don't think about van life as a destination, the van, the consumer aspects. Think about van life as a tool to enable you to pursue your dreams, your passions, things which really get you going and are true to who you are, not basically just making money to pay rent. Just see it as that and go for it. You only have one life, so I highly recommend that you do exactly what is right for you. I hope you enjoyed that content. If you hadn't noticed, we do have an ebook that we sell, and the link is just in the description. It contains 160 pages crammed full of practical advice, walkthrough information, electronic schematics and part lists, which will make your job a lot easier for doing a van conversion, and it will save you time and money. Also, we've created special videos for the ebook which enable you to see walkthroughs for how to do loads of things in a van conversion. So that's for water systems, for your electrics, for how to do simple woodwork joints that anyone can do. I really believe that anyone, regardless of their experience, can make a half decent van conversion. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate you watching our content, and we put a lot of effort to make it interesting, informative, and find those cool projects that feature on our channel. Consider subscribing, leave a comment, and we'll see you next week.